We'll start with a little bit of movement this morning, and then sort of a little bit of movement and stillness and movement and stillness, so that we can really kind of get into the figure. We'll use the opportunity of maybe a more chill practice this morning to just kind of invite exploration of the fascial tissues, the interstitium, and movement of the interstitial fluid to the joints. And then, so when you're ready to do so, let's just begin by circling out the torso. So see if you can get all the way into the pelvis. So your pelvis is almost like it's like a bowl that's just kind of rolling. Good. Around its outer edges. In the same way, can we kind of just shift our weight behind the sits bones to one side, in front of the sits bones to the extent possible. Good. And to the other side. Right? So as you tip the pelvis forward, you do want to try to angle the sacrum, right, away from the floor behind you. So I have a slightly wider bound Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, butterfly pose. Good. Yeah. Support the knees as needed. Good. And breathe. Begin to establish your breath. So if you haven't, let's reverse the direction of the roll. Very nice. We'll take a deep breath in. Exhale, full breath out. So I kind of I'm going to borrow some of this practice from Josh Summers, Yin Yoga Master, just because it's a really wonderful sort of spring practice, late spring practice of inviting just the water element of the body to move, right? So really nice for the joints, wonderful lubrication for the tendons, the ligaments, the fascial tissues, all the sticky, sort of more less elastic tissues of the body. Good. And then when you're ready, let's just pause, find an upright position. So I'm going to invite you to work with, I'm going to face the camera for this one here. But I'm going to invite you to, you can take one foot in one hand if you'd like to, and place it on the other thigh if that feels a little bit easier. Otherwise, we're just going to pitch forward a little bit. And just find if you take your thumbs and trace them from like between the second and middle toe down to the center of the sole of the foot, right? We're getting into a kidney point here. And then if you take your index finger of both hands and trace from between the big toe and second toe, right, between the bony structures, between the bones, down until it's sort of like a V, until you meet that point in the V. That can feel really tender. That's a liver point. So we're just going to massage those 2 points. So I'm kind of starting with my index fingers and just kind of, you might just pressurize if the massage is too much. So index finger just massaging the top of the foot, the liver point, and then thumb can massage. You can sort of slide the thumb from the toes down towards the heel. And you can also just find that point above the middle of the foot. That's kind of the adrenals. So part of the stress response in the body. This is all about really building resiliency in the vagus nerve. It's releasing tension from the body. So the body becomes incompatible with stress. Good. Down regulating our nervous system as we just start to meet ourselves in this place of lower tension in the body. Good. So I'm just massaging the sole side of the foot. Good. And now back to the top of the foot. And I'm just going to actually just take the index finger and with slight pressure move from the base of the toes to that V, that sort of top of the foot, the V part. Good. Very nice. And now just kind of come to an upright position. And let's bring one foot in and then the other. If you prefer to, you can take the legs into hero's pose, where you're taking one foot behind you, right? And then the other foot behind you and sitting down between the soles of the feet. That works as well. This is really intense on the quads. Feels really good for my body this morning. So legs can be crossed, legs can be folded back. Take a deep breath in, heel of the hand pressing down into the top of the thighs. Good, and then rising up. So finding that length and that lift through the side body. If your feet are in hero's pose, you can actually try to find that liver point on the top of the foot between the base of the second toe and big toe, and just kind of press down. That will help to release some of the stretch in the ankle. Take a deep breath in, bow the chin towards the chest, and just circle the right ear to right shoulder, chin to chest, left ear to left shoulder. Good. We're just bringing a little bit of freedom to the head and the neck. Breathing in, breathing out. So inviting your breath to guide your movement here. So I'm going to alternate some of these yin poses, good, with yang poses this morning, so we still get that movement. Good. Deep breath in and exhale, full breath out. Bring the chin to the front of the chest or the throat and lift the head. Good. So this one, I'm going to, without turning the head first, I'm going to have the eyes. This again taps into our vagus nerve, the parasympathetic, mostly in this case, the parasympathetic nervous system. So roll the eyes over to the left. Good. And now turn your head to look over that, sorry, the right, doesn't matter, but the left shoulder, and then look over to the far left. So keep working with the eyes. Relax the eyes and bring the head back to center. So working with the rectus muscles of the eyes here, the eyeball. Turn the eyes over to the far right. So you're looking at the far right corner of both eyes. Now turn the head over to the right. Keep looking out the far right. Good. Take a deep breath in. Really focus on that exhalation of the breath. Let the exhalation invite release, softening of tension. And then relax the eyes and bring the head back to center. Good. Let's interlace the fingers, Abhitaba Mudra. So this is an interlace with thumbs lightly touching, hands in your lap. Breathing into the heart, spin the hands at the heart. So the palms face up, keep the thumbs touching. And as you extend through the heel of the hand, see if you can engage those elbows, squeezing those elbows in towards the temples, lift the side body. So find length through the side body. Inhale, hands come back to the heart, spin, palms face up, and release the hands into your lap. So let's do this a few more times with the breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. So on your own breath, good, really nice. We're going to take a little twist over to the right. So bring that left hand in front, right hand can come behind you. Think of turning from the tailbone like a rudder, right? The tailbone is kind of telling your spine which direction we're moving in, and we're just kind of rolling one vertebra at a time. So you're building a spiral within the spine to invite that twist. The action arises from the abdomen. Good. Direction by the awareness. Good, and take a deep breath in, come back to center. Exhale. Right hand across the front of the body, left hand behind you. Turn the tailbone, deep breath in. Exhale. Take a breath in your twist. Strengthening the lungs here, good. Exhale. And come back to center. Good. Let's walk the hands forward. We're going to come into, you can roll over the feet here, and we're going to come onto hands and knees. Good. Hands underneath the shoulders. And we'll just start with cat-cow, tipping the pelvis forward. We're going to do a little something different with the neck. So this is I'm adding something that I've heard called nerve flossing. So we're releasing the tension in the nerves along the spine, but we're going to stretch the nerves in the neck by drawing the chin to the throat. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale now, posterior tilt of the pelvis as you scoop the tailbone, as you round the back, as you draw the navel and the lower ribs into the body, and then look up and off the tip of your nose. So we're releasing the neck but stretching the back. Inhale. Good. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. So as you move into cow pose, right, arching the back, you're going to draw the chin to the throat. Inhale. Exhale. Look off the top of your mat, tip of the nose, without putting the head down. One more time each direction. I'm doing it slowly because this requires, right, it requires consciousness for this action to release, to stretch one part of the back or the spine and release the other. Good. And gently release. Let's take child's pose here. So we'll bring the toes together, bring the knees a little forward and together. Lower the hips towards your heels. Again, if you need to, put a little something across the back of the ankles in order to support the knees, create some space behind the knees. If you can walk the arms out in front of you, release the head to the floor, and we'll just take a few breaths into the back of the body. You can also stack the hands, resting the head on your top hand, inviting the breath into the back of the body. So you're going to feel some of the pressure, right? As the breath moves into the upper abdomen, as the lungs expand, you're going to feel that movement against the thighs, inviting the awareness, right, the breath to move into the back of the body. So 2 more breaths here. Inhale, lift the head. Good. Exhale, walk the hands out. We're going to come to hands and knees and take our downward dog, first downward dog of the day. So flex your toes here. Good. And then lift. I can't really use my legs today. They're out of commission. So I'm using a lot of work with my arms. Feel free to just stay on your hands and knees and do something like puppy pose, or take your forearms to the floor, right? And just shift your hips forward and back a little bit. So this is just a nice way of staying off of the arms if you need to, and just working a little bit on shoulder flexion. Good. By bringing the weight or the torso back behind the shoulders. Good. In downward facing dog, same thing, right? You can extend, coming into sort of like a high push-up position, and then bend your knees and draw those hips back, finding that shoulder flexion. As you extend back, inhale, exhale. Like a wave, sacrum to the sky, heels to the earth, lifting the heels, shift your weight forward. Good, shifting your weight back. And we're just gonna pause, right, in our sort of dolphin pose if you're on the forearms. Good, you might be more of a puppy pose with the hands or the forearms on the ground, knees grounding the hips. In downward facing dog, you can pedal out the legs a little bit and just find that extension, that stretch through the back of one leg as one heel lowers. Good, and then the back of the other leg as the other heel lowers. So I'm just kind of alternating. Beautiful. And then very gently, let's find a moment of stillness. So in downward dog, obviously we're exerting some effort here by grounding through hands and feet.
just inviting the head to fall below the level of the heart. Again, you can take more of a puppy pose. So I'm going to show the alternative, right? Where you can rest your forearms, you can bring the head towards the earth, rest the head. And again, right, we're not collapsing into the posture. We want to get that sense of lifting the navel, retracting the rib cage, and then drawing those hips back, stretching inner thighs back towards the sits bones. Supporting the shoulders as necessary. Good. Let's take one more deep breath in. Good. Exhale. And then from here, let's step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. So you have the option if you want to extend your right leg, three-legged dog. Good. You can just take the leg from hands and knees. You're going to come up to hands and knees for this one and extend that right leg out behind you. And then lunge or step that right foot to the outside of the right hand. And we're going to lower that back knee to the floor. So I'm going to angle myself a little bit here. Hands can start under the shoulders. So in the yin practice, this is your dragon pose. We're going to turn the front toes out at a slight angle. Invite this front knee to move in the direction of the toes. Beautiful. And the hips can lower towards the earth. So here's your dragon pose. And we're going to do something a little different. Rather than just holding for time, I'm going to invite you to explore. So we're going to move a little bit. Just shift your hips over to the left. Good. You might notice a little psoas stretch. It'll stretch you the side body, and then swing your hips over to the right where you might start to really feel the inner thigh on that right side. So turn those toes out. And again, I'm just kind of inviting the hips to roll, shifting weight into the left hand and then shifting weight into the right hand. Good. You can also do the same thing. So just kind of explore that movement a little bit before we find a little bit of stillness. Feel free to put a bolster, a cushion in front of this back knee so that if it's really hard for you to release and surrender to gravity without feeling like you're compressing the front hip or straining, putting too much stretch in the back front hip, right? That really helps. The other option is now a little back and forward. So I'm going to move my front heel back a little bit so that the heel stays on the ground, but the knee's going to move beyond the toes or towards the toes, right? Another thing I like to do in poses like this, because I'm shifting in and out of tension in the wrist, I'm actually going to spin my hands so my fingers point back. Good. And draw the shoulders back. This is going to give you a lot of stretch in the front, the forearm, the underside of the arm, the part that doesn't tan that well. Inhale. Good. So I'm just shifting my weight back where I get a little bit more wrist stretch. Don't do this if it's too much flexion in the wrist. Forward and back. So I'm just kind of rocking, inviting movement, the flow of movement, right, to increase the movement of prana, of chi through the meridians of the body, the interstitial fluid, in all the spaces in between. This also, right, helps to move lymph. Lymph doesn't have a motor like the cardiovascular system does. So movement is how we really kind of shift those pockets of lymph fluid. Breathing in, good, exhale. And I'm going to invite you to just kind of find a little stillness here. See if, I like to do one more thing where I keep that right hand by the right foot, turn the left hand so the fingers are pointing out and a little bit wider, and I'm going to shift my left side, shift over towards that left hand and take a little twist. So we're coming into lizard, right? So this is more lizard pose. And I'm going to come towards, I'm going to find a little rotation towards the bent leg. And I feel a really deep stretch here as I let that left hip release towards the earth without sinking into the shoulder. This is going to be hard if you're not integrating the shoulder, and the wrist is a challenge, right? But you can find a little bit of a rotation. Another option, I'm shifting over towards the right again. Take that left arm to the ground and then roll onto that left thigh, literally rolling onto that left thigh. Good. And I'm going to cradle that right knee in my right elbow. Beautiful. So we're just getting a little bit of a side stretch here.
Inviting that release through the hip, through the side waist, breathing in. Again, just watch any tendency to kind of collapse into the shoulders. See if you can hold that space. And then when you're ready to do so, we're going to come back, again, just either on the hands, good, or on the forearms, shifting the weight back over towards that right foot. Those of you who'd like to increase a little bit more of that hip stretch, you can roll to the, I'm trying to see if we can get this on camera, roll to the outside of this right foot so you're on the outer heel. Bend the knee's moving in the direction of the toe, so the knee has to go out and down. And then if you're inclined to, use a block, good. Use the forearms and see if you can find a little bit more opening through that right hip. Good, so I'll come back a little bit so you can kind of see where my leg is at. It's opening to the side and that right hip is drawing back. So just a few more breaths, just really kind of releasing the hips with gravity to the extent that you can. Breathing. And using that combination, right, of awareness and breath to really hone in on the sensations that are showing up in your body. And then noticing how the sensation shifts when it receives attention. A lot of times sensation shows up and the first instinct we have is to push it away or to ignore it, deny it, shove it under the rug, the metaphorical rug, right? So it's really just like, what is showing up? Before we label it, before we tell a story or create a narrative around it, what if we just allow the awareness to create some space around it, send the breath towards the sensitivity in the body. Breathe into it as if the sensation had a mini pair of lungs. And exhale. It might resist a little bit at first, and then you might start to notice that the sensation softens. It's like, oh, I'm getting attention, I'm feeling heard, I'm being noticed. Breathe in, one more breath. Exhale. Start to move a little bit again, so you can bring that right foot flat if it was opening, and just kind of shift your weight from side to side. Rock the pelvis a little bit here. Beautiful. And then very gently, we're going to come back into our half split, runner's lunge, Ardha Hanumanasana in the young practice. And I'm going to lift the toes to get a little bit more of a calf stretch, hamstring stretch. I'm just bringing the hands back underneath the shoulders. Beautiful. Take a deep breath in. So if you'd like to, a little movement, stretch out through the toes. Exhale, roll back over the heel, pulling the toes, so dorsiflexing the foot. Good. Extending the ankle and the toes, lifting the toes. Good. Flexing the ankle, dialing that right hip back, and one more time. Very nice. Good. And then from here, let's bring that right leg back. Whew. And again, this is going to put a little bit more pressure, flexion on the wrist, but a little bit more weight in the arms. I'm turning the hands out to the sides here and taking the heel of the hand to the outside edges of the mat, right? So the fingers are off the mat. And I'm just going to lower the hips to one side, stacking the knees. Lower the hips to the other side, stacking the knees. Good. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You can also take the hips back to your heels to come off the arms. I want to show an option without weight in the arms, where you're just walking, instead of the hips going to one side, right? The hips are going to go, the hands are going to walk one side, then you can shift the hips to the other, right? So this is really nice. This gives you a little bit of a side stretch. Hands walk to the other side, and I'm going to let my hips shift over to the opposing heel. So I get a little bit of a side stretch. And then finally, last version, downward dog. We're going to take the feet about a good hip distance apart and then turn the toes in one direction. You're going to feel a little bit more weight if you turn the toes over to the right. You're going to feel more weight in that left arm, but more length through the right side. I don't want to confuse the brain here.
So you're going to spin on the ball of the foot, lift the heels to spin the toes in the other direction if you're in downward dog. And I'm going to lower the heels and lift, if you can, lift the knees. Good. So just watch the shoulders here. So we're going to do this one more time. Take your time wherever you are. You know, commit to your seat, your asana, and give it some breath. Good, let's all come back to wherever centered is. And we're gonna shift now, so we're gonna take that left leg into dragon. So those of you in downward dog, if you lifted, if you came into your three-legged dog on the other side, make sure you lift that left leg. And then we're gonna lunge or step that left foot to the outside of the left hand, turn the toes out, and lower that back knee to the earth. Again, you can put a bolster, a block, a cushion, a blanket in front of this back knee so that as you let the hips drift forward, right, as the hips come forward, you're going to allow that back thigh to rest on whatever support you have. And I'm going to take this front foot, turn the toes out, and I'm just going to shift. I'm rocking the weight over towards the front leg and then over towards the back leg, so to speak, or over to the left, so a little bit more weight moves into the left arm and then into the right arm. So I like to turn the right wrist, the right hand rather, out and take the hand a little bit wider, so it was like kind of shifting into lizard and then back into dragon. Good, lizard, a little bit of a twist. We're going to do a little bit more twist in a moment, but just kind of find that rocking movement. See if you can just kind of notice what's showing up in your body. So I'm keeping that front heel on the floor if possible, moving the knee in the direction of the toes. So I don't want the knee to go out if the toes aren't turned out, right? So you're just letting the knee move in the direction of the toes. And I'm just shifting my weight left to right. Good. See if you can now pause for a moment in dragon. So the knee, my left knee is pointing in the direction of my left toes. I'm going to turn my hands so the fingers are pointing back. Good. Letting my weight sort of settle into the arms, right? And then drop the shoulder blades down the back and lift the torso. So the hips are lowering. Good. I want a little bit of sensation that left side. Very nice. This just gives you a stretch in the forearms if you'd like it. Good. We're going to come into lizard now. So take that right hand a little wide and shift over towards the right side. And I'm taking that little twist so you get a little bit of stretch here in the outer hip. In the young practice, we refer to this pose as Skandasana, variation of Skandasana. Good. Named after the sage Skanda. Take a deep breath in. So you also have the option, right, of taking that forearm to the floor. Nice. And what's really nice is I get the back thigh is actually on the floor. And you can roll. This is pretty nasty if you have gnarly quads like I do today. But if you roll towards that front foot and then towards that back hip, the other hip, you get that. You're rolling over your thigh muscles, over your quad muscles, quadriceps. Good. I'm just going to hold the twist for one more moment, breathing in, lizard pose, exhale, and then we're going to come back into dragon with the option of opening the hip a little bit more. So I'm going to move over, scooch over here so you can see the foot. The left foot is going to roll. I'm going to roll towards the outside of that left heel, and I want the knee again to move in the direction of the toes. And then as I shift over to the left leg can open up a little bit more. And now you're going to be getting the outside, the piriformis. You're going to be getting a little bit more towards the outer body. I'm coming a little lower down, inviting gravity to do the work of drawing the hips towards the earth. And as we hold this sort of last segment of the posture, when I say hold, it's not hold with tension, it's hold with awareness. So remember the three tenets of yin yoga are
Again, meeting ourselves in stillness. Good. Working with awareness and breath to hold the space of sensation, the edge. And then sustain for time. So the time part is where we invite, as we hold that awareness, that space, that edge of sensation. If it's too intense, your body's going to tighten up around it, right? So support your body as much as you need to. See if you can hold the attention around the sensation and then send the breath to the sensation as if you had a mini pair of lungs right at that place of sensitivity. What happens if you exhale and let go? This is the moving into softness, a sense of softening around the stuff that feels hard, that feels intense, that we tend to ignore or run away from or push away. That's why it always comes back stronger. Let's take 2 more breaths, 2 more breaths. Real breath. Good. Now roll back onto that left foot. Walk the hands in. And let's just slowly drag those hips back. Use the arms to support the hips shifting back. And see if you can extend that front leg. So again, soft rounding in the back here. Hands supporting the shoulders, but there's not a lot of weight on the arms. It's really back on that left shin. You might even come onto your fingertips or on blocks. Peel the front toes up away from the floor. So I'm going to work with some flexion here just to get a little bit more stretch in the calf, in the hamstrings, the lower back. Keep lifting through the belly, keep retracting those front ribs, keep the gaze, the head up above the heart. And if you'd like to stretch the toes, inhale, flex the toes in the ankle, exhale. Engage, if you do, engage the knee to really support the release in the hamstrings. It may not feel like release, but it will start to tell the body. If you engage the front of the body in a lifting action, it really helps the back body to release a little. Breathe in. The law of reciprocal inhibition. One more time. We're going to come onto our backs after this. Yeah, actually almost onto our backs after this. Good. When you're ready, release that left leg. So once again, we're just going to take a little child's pose, so hips to heels. Good. Hands can stack. Lower the hips to your heels. If you'd like to, just sway a little bit. Imagine you're just kind of rolling over the shin bones, right? And that's going to let your hips kind of swing from side to side. As long as you're not feeling this in the knees, just think of rolling over the shin bones. It's not just the knees, right? But your whole body's moving as you massage sort of outer calf muscles. Come back to center, lift the head, walk the arms out. And inhale, 2 hands and knees. And we're just going to kind of shift forward and back. Just little circles, forward and back. If it's too much for the arms or the wrists, just kind of circle out the hips. That works as well, right? As if you're drawing a circle on the wall behind you with the tail end of the spine. Good. And then reverse the roll. So this may not work for your hands or your knees, right? In which case, just kind of roll the hips. You can also take this in downward facing dog, right? And just kind of sway from side to side, like a reed swaying in the breeze. Just finding that quality of flow within the body, and the fluids of the body just find movement, right? Very lovely. Nice. And then from here, we're going to shift into Sphinx pose. So I'm going to lower. You can lower all the way to the earth and then come up onto your forearms, or lower onto your forearms and then release the hips to the earth. So feel it out for yourself. If you're working with lower back stuff, I'm going to offer you an option here. If you're working with lower back stuff,
I'm going to have you fold your blanket. And you might even do this one more time, right? When I fold it twice, I'm going to put the rounded edge right in the crease of the front hips. So the front of the hips go on the blanket, and then the forearms. This is nice for the shoulders, so we'll also support the shoulders a little bit more. Elbows under the shoulders, shoulders drop back. Good. I'm just going to start with my legs extending. So the lower belly's on the blanket if you're using it, right? Extending the legs, so just on my toes, stretching back through the heels, and then lower the thighs, stretch out through the toes, and sacrum, which is right here across the back of the hips, right? So you want the thighs rolling in, which means your toes are going to turn in towards each other, and then we're going to sustain this Sphinx pose for a while, just for a few moments, so not as long as traditional yin holds. Let the gaze fall off the tip of the nose. Good. So the blanket, what the blanket does, right, is it supports that lower abdomen a little bit, so you don't have as much compression in the kidneys. So what we're doing is we're just kind of allowing a little bit of compression in that lower back. So thighs rolling in towards each other. But then let the legs, once you've set up your seat, see if you can just let everything go. If you need to support the head, put a block underneath, or 2 blocks right underneath the forehead so the head can rest. We're going to do a little movement with the head again in a moment, just like we did at the beginning of class. But let's just hold for a few more breaths, allowing the breath to arise. Notice if there's clenching in the legs, if there's tightening in the buttocks. Good. And see if you can just relax. Just let your awareness move around the body. From the head, I'm kind of letting the weight settle into my elbows to get myself a little bit of lift in the heart. Breathe in. The breath can lend some buoyancy to the chest. Exhale. Hips releasing towards the earth. Good. Now we're going to take the chin to the throat. Good. Look off the tip of the nose. Lift the head. Good. And look up into the center of your brain, towards the third eye point. Bow the head, chin to the chest. Try not to sink, right? And one more time, neck extension. Lift the chin to the extent that you can, and then the eyes lift. And release. Good. Now take the eyes over to the far left. Good. And now you're going to turn the head or the chin towards the left shoulder. Look over that left shoulder. Watch the right shoulder. The weight's going to go a little bit to the left. My eyes are still looking to the far left. Breathe in. Take a yawn. Really tell the nervous system it's time to relax. And then gently make your way back to center. Relax the eyes. Take the eyes to the far right. Turn your chin towards the right shoulder. Look over to the far right. You're looking over the shoulder towards that right foot. Breathe, yawn. Still early enough for me. Relax the eyes and bring the head back to center. Beautiful. Now lower all the way down and just take the hands, one on top of the other, forehead to the top hand. And I'm going to encourage you to just kind of roll the hips, just kind of shake out the hips a little bit. And then if you'd like to, you can bring the feet together and apart, and together and apart. I'm going to keep them apart and just start to do these draw little elliptical movements. So the legs are rolling in one, or the feet are rolling in one direction, right? The same direction. Good, pause, and we're gonna bring the feet back down to earth. Good, and we're gonna roll onto our backs now. So we're gonna roll down to the earth. I have a little bit of padding underneath the hips here. Good. We're gonna start by just taking the feet hip distance apart, mat distance apart, so a little wider than the hips. Turn the toes in, let the thighs roll in towards one another. Good. And then just kind of rest the hands on the lower abdomen so the elbows are on the floor. Just take a moment to feel the back body meeting the earth. Good. Take a breath or two. Good. The last part of the practice, toe heel the feet together. And we're going to bring the knees all the way into the chest. So I'm going to have you take the toes or the feet together, let the knees drop a little bit apart here, and the knees can, so again, I have a tiny bit of elevation under the sacrum. Good. And I'm going to let the knees fall into the shoulders, wrap the arms around the legs. So you can either take, so you have options here, the one hand each to shin, same hand to same shin bone, right? So the elbows are just kind of falling. I like to kind of cradle my legs. It also gives me a little bit more stretch in the back, but it may not be feasible for your knees. So just make sure that whatever you do is comfortable. And I'm just taking one wrist with the other hand, right? Or you could shake hands if you need a little bit more space. So the knees are a little bit apart. Good, gives me a little bit of space in the pelvis. Nice, a little compression here of the hips and the lower back. Good. And then we're just going to rock from side to side. So shifting the weight from one side of the sacrum to the other. So again, just a little bit of rocking. The body loves this rocking movement. It's very settling to the nervous system. Beautiful. Now you can increase the amplitude of the rocking by shifting the weight all the way to the side. And I'm going until the elbow touches. So it won't be as much if you have the hand on the shin, right? You can feel the elbow just kind of touching the ground, but it allows you to go a little bit more to the side. If you're holding, I'm actually going to rock to the elbow and then back and let the head kind of go with you. So I'm not looking for speed. Good, just take your time here, breathe, elbow. I'm letting my head roll too, not lifting the head, just letting the head roll. This has a little bit of Feldenkrais kind of quality to it. Another therapeutic, physical sort of approach, somatic therapeutic approach. Good, and we'll come back to center. Very nice. So from here, we can shift into a little happy baby pose. So we're almost done. So last part of the practice, couple of options, right? One is so this is reclined frog pose in yin, but we're just gonna let the feet drift apart a little bit. So if that feels appropriate to your body, I'm just taking, you can take the ankles, you can take the outsides of the feet. You can actually take this, if you take the hands a little higher up on the shin bones and let the knees move away from you. If you would like an inner thigh stretch, this is it. Where I'm just letting the arms are kind of weighted to the legs. The hips have their natural opening. Alternatively, you can also take the arms to the outsides of the legs, hold onto the shins, right? And in this case, the arms are weighted. A little easier, I think, and the legs can kind of rest in the arms. So just kind of find a place that works for you. If you would like to do the next part, which is again, we're going to add a little rocking movement, it's going to be easier, I think, to hold on to the feet or the ankles. And all we're doing is extending one leg. You want to make sure that the leg isn't coming down here, right? It's got to be above the level of the hip. And then bring the leg in. Beautiful. And then the other leg, and I'm going to rock so that the foot, as the foot comes down to the floor, I'm rolling towards that hip and release back in. Good. And over to the foot, just rocking to one side, rocking to the other side. So it gives you a little bit of stretch across the back of the body. You can also just keep the leg in more of the happy baby pose where the knee doesn't flex all the way, but I'm still rocking a little bit side to side. Excuse me. So a few more times, just take a few breaths, feel it out. You don't have to extend the leg. You can just rock from side to side, right, wherever you are. So nice here in Washington State. The sun is rising now at like 10 to 5 in the morning. Beautiful. Very nice. So we're going to come back to center. Let's finish on our back the way we started, which is Baddha Konasana, this reclined butterfly pose. Soles of the feet come together. Good. You can also just hold the outside of the knees. And again, we'll just do this kind of ellipsis where you're just kind of rolling around the sacrum. And we're going to finish with a little twist. So when you bring the knees, if you haven't, reverse the roll. And then we're going to finish by bringing the knees into the chest. Good. And lowering the knees to your left side. Good. So I'm just going to stack the knees. So you get, you know, the weight of the knees. You could put a little cushion between the knees as needed. And I like to, if I take the top knee and slide it back. So I'm going to take that back foot to the floor, roll over onto my side, and encourage that back knee to release. You might get a little side stretch here, right through the side body. So there's this option where you get a little bit more of a side stretch, and then there's the option where you get more of a twist. So it may depend on your body, right? You can use support the head as needed. I'm just letting that back knee. What I like to do is thread this this front foot behind the calf to draw the knee down towards the floor and bring the rib cage and the navel in, and it gives you a really lovely stretch through the psoas. A deep, 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 deep muscle runs along the inner lumbar spine. You breathe into whatever sensation is showing up in the body. Beautiful. Try to release. This is the hard part, I think, especially if we don't have a lot of internal rotation. Try to let the top leg, see if you can let the leg really fall down towards the earth, and that's where you're going to get that traction through the lower back. Good. When you're ready, you can come up. It's a little bit like Bharadvajasana, where I'm now going to move to the other side, or just roll to the other side, right? That's another option. You can also put support under the waist, right? I'm just kind of showing variations here where you get that side stretch, or just roll onto your back, let the knees fall to the other side. So we have all kinds of options here. So I'm going to take this top leg, so you might be in your twist, roll onto the other shoulder. I'm just going to support my hip for a moment. Take this top knee or leg and move it back, so you get this traction through the hip and the thigh. So again, my internal rotation, not great.
So when I let the leg fall in, you just want to make sure that the knee is not pressurized. So this is why I take this lower foot and I'm going to tuck the foot behind the knee. Keep the knee back, but it just helps to kind of bring that leg down. So the weight, gravity isn't pulling it down, but the knee or the hip is resisting, right? I want to just kind of bring that down. And then you have an option of coming into your twist, or this may not feel like a side stretch to some of you, but for me, I'm finding very, very deep traction through the top side of the pelvis. Good. So take a deep breath in and support the head. Use a cushion, use a block, use your hand. Good. And I find that this arm coming forward is sometimes helpful as well. Bringing the navel, bringing the rib cage back. And you might notice like that there's gripping around the hip. Very hard to let gravity do the work here. So just our last hurrah here. Take about, if you can, 5, 8, 10 breaths, nice and slow. We're telling the body it's okay to relax, it's okay to let go. Each exhalation of the breath gives us permission to soften in. Good, let's take one more breath. Good, relax the feet. And all you're going to do here is roll onto your back. Put your head down first, then your shoulders, and then lift the knees to roll onto your hips. You may have to swing your hips back to center. Good. And we're going to finish in Shavasana with just a few moments of stillness, of quiet, and release. So I'm just rolling up my blanket, placing it under the thighs. Good. Inviting the feet about hip distance apart. And the arms, the hands can rest on your abdomen. They can rest by your sides. Sometimes it's nice to take the star pose in yin, where the arms are overhead. If that feels appropriate to your shoulders, if it feels comfortable. So your final posture is one of relaxation. Close the eyes. Allow the 4 lobes of the brain to really fold in upon the center of the brain. Again, this is our autonomic nervous system, right? This is our fight or flight or freeze, right? And conversely, that relaxation response. So we're really tapping into just dropping so deep into the recesses of the brain and the depths of our physical being, the cells and tissues of our body, and just inviting all this movement and flow, right? Internal lubrication and hydration of our joints, of the cells and tissues of our body, of the interstitial spaces, the interstitium, but also enhancing the flow of lymph through the body, but also blood as well, the vascular flow. So I'm going to leave us in this last moment, this last minute of practice in silence and stillness.
as you do so, begin to bring movement into the fingers and the toes, the hands and the feet. Maybe circle the wrists and the ankles. Very gently walk the feet or step the feet in towards your hips. And then roll to one side and press up to sitting. And just take a moment to center, to anchor yourself, to bring yourself back into your breath, into an awareness of your body sitting, an awareness of your body in this space around it. So from this place of interoceptive awareness to proprioceptive awareness. Good, and we'll extend just gratitude into the outside world. Thank you so much for showing up this morning. Appreciate you all. Namaste.